Dawn, and I want us to continue the conversation this particular morning, but now let's focus on how the president has been responding to, to his critics. And I want us to take this particular story. I don't know if my director Joanne has it on cue, a story about when President William Ruto was, addressing yesterday, especially on issues to do with livestock vaccination. That particular story and how he was responding to critics, what he said on that particular platform. Now let's take a look at that. Now, President William Ruto has continued to defend the government's plan to roll out livestock vaccination from next month. Now, despite criticism, now speaking at the Pastoralist Community Leadership Conference in Wajir County, the president said the program is important in controlling the spread of diseases and opening up international markets for livestock products in Kenya. The president once again called out leaders opposed to the program barely a week after he attacked Kenyans who have continued to oppose government's policies. Let's take a look at this particular story.
President William Ruto has visited Wajir County for the first time since being elected. This visit comes at a time when the president continues to face criticism over his remarks against Kenyans opposing government policies. The president has now advanced his harsh attacks to leaders opposing the government livestock vaccination program.
There is an evil spirit in Kenya that is resident in some leaders. They churn out falsehood. They oppose everything for the sake of opposing. I mean, foot and mouth disease, PPR, are diseases we have been fighting ever since I was born. It is nothing new.
Speaking at the 4th Pastoralist Leadership Conference in Wajir County, the president defended the government-planned nationwide livestock vaccination campaign, insisting the program is critical in managing diseases prevalence and opening up international markets for Kenya's livestock products.
We are going to carry out this vaccination because it is the right thing to do, because we need to take charge of disease control and open up markets for our animal products.
These strong remarks by the president come a few days after his program was criticized by Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka, who claimed the program is a government ploy to harm Kenyans.
The vaccination exercise is only the harbinger of more sinister things to follow. The scheme is to eradicate farm animal production entirely.
The president also stated this initiative also aligns with Kenya's efforts to position as a major vaccine producer in Africa, as the vaccines will be sourced from the Kenya's Veterinary Vaccines Production Institute.
And we are going to use vaccines that are produced by Kenya right here at home, so that even as we develop vaccines that we are selling to other countries, we are doing the same to our country.
The president also took the opportunity to make commitments to the residents of Wajir.
Hii town yenu ya Wajir, contractor nitakuja naye Januari ya kupanga mambo ya sewage system. Mimi nitatoa nafasi katika Teachers Training College. Vijana wa hapa waamue kuwa walimu, wapatiwe sponsorship na hawa viongozi. Na mimi, I will give them positions, affirmative action position katika Teachers Training College, ndio watoto wa hapa wapate walimu kutoka Wajir County.
Edwin Mbogwa, K24.
All right, that is the head of state, but this is not the first time that he's actually, saying people are possessed, especially those that are opposed to some of his policies. Let me say, I don't know, are you guys possessed? Because to some extent, I've heard you criticize the government. Is there an evil spirit on this particular page? Let me start with you, Nudin.
Yeah.
The head of state, this is not the first time he's, terming Kenyans or people opposed to some of his policies as either stupid or people possessed with evil spirits.
Yeah.
Why are we getting to this particular point and this rhetoric coming from the head of state?
It's very unfortunate because his tagline during the campaign was that wajinga waliisha. Sasa kama Wajingo aliishi and he knew that. So of course he knows that we can't be carried babies, you know, at the end of the day. So this issue of saying that we are possessed, of course we are possessed with anti-lies. You know, the president talks about there's a lot of falsehoods. He should be the last person to say that by his record, judging by his record, because we as Kenyans talked about Adani, it came to be, and they were saying it's a lie. Now the issue of cows, and he's really not telling people the genesis of all these things. In Boston, there's a company called iCare Bio, a startup company that raised close to, that was $26.5 million via venture capital funded by an investment fund founded by Bill Gates. Now this is the same person that we all know has a country that is looking for him. This is a person that allegedly, under Trump's administration, where Robert Kennedy, who has been appointed to do some amendments to the healthcare system there, allegedly says that he has messed the healthcare system in the US. And the issue about this, the BAPs and fat of cows, is because they want to create more than 5% of global greenhouses for gases. So you see, he's not saying the truth of the matter as to why this came to be. Because all of a sudden, this craze came immediately. Those funds were raised by that company. So the real reason as to why we are vaccinating our animals is not known to those who keep animals. And if at all, like he says, he wants to cure those foot and mouths, it's taken all these years until today.
So you say the reason as to why we are vaccinating our animals is not known to the people that keep the animals?
Yes, and that is because he's not saying the truth. He talks about falsehoods. This thing has come courtesy of the fact that I've told you, the company that is called IKEA is after making 5% of global greenhouse gases. Only they know why they want to make this, because at the end of the day, that will affect our livestock here at the end of the day, because we don't know the reason why they want to vaccinate this. I don't want to speculate because, you know, but at the end of the day, it is not courtesy of the government. Someone else is pushing this. It's the same thing. This is just like another way of pushing some agenda. You get. So at the end of the day, issues of him saying that we are possessed, it's not been possessed. Again, I told you, but we understand he seems very angry, and for our president, you know, you're a symbol of national unity. It's quite sad that whenever people criticize something that you're saying, which they find to be erroneous, you get angry, because if you're meant to be a father, for example, will you go fighting your children whenever they tell you you're wrong somewhere? Because we can't have, the problem he has is that our president, sadly, is an all-knowing man. And that is why our cabinet fails to work. Because if you look at them, he said that they, remember that time they were given a performance contract. He said they don't know the scope of their ministry, of their duties. But how will you micromanage people and expect creativity? It doesn't work. So you can't be all-knowing. Where you err, accept that, one, I am wrong, and accept the fact that people can have a different opinion or view to how we view things. This thing of vaccination should not be forced upon those who keep livestock. So if I feel my cow doesn't need the vaccination, I shouldn't be forced, because how he speaks is like it's going to go down there by fire, by force, and it can't work that way. Okay,
now you mentioned something that I believe is somehow important, whereby you say the president seems to be all-knowing, and from quoting him, he said, how can you explain the opposition when it comes to these things? If you do not know about livestock, shut up. At least for those who keep cattle, they leave it to them. So if you do not keep cattle, then you do not have any reason as to to start and opposing issues to do with the vaccination of livestock. Is still insisting that there's an evil spirit of Kenyans. They oppose everything by spreading lies. This is not the first time. The previous time he was actually speaking about the celebrations when it comes to the cancellation of Adani deal, saying some of you are celebrating it, yet you've never stepped into the airport. Why are we getting into this particular space whereby if you actually raising concerns, you are termed as somebody who is possessed, especially by the head of state, and who is supposed to call out issues to do with the government, especially when Kenyans feel that things are not going right? Do you have to actually be involved in the sector? Are we not stakeholders, all of us, at the end of the day?
Yeah. Thank you, Brian. I think this is a very worrying trend from His Excellency the President. I think we cannot keep on creating divisions. You might say that you're uniting the country from a tribal perspective and a leadership perspective. But at the same time, you cannot sow discord in terms of how Kenyans view what's important in terms of public policy. You know, it's called public policy because it's meant for the entire public. I might not own a cow today, but tomorrow I will go buy a mbuzi for my Christmas and I decide I like the way it looks, I will keep it until February. I am going to be a goat farmer tomorrow. So I must be, I should be very, very, very happy to actually understand what's going on with livestock in Kenya. So you cannot say it's only for the people who keep herds of cattle right now, who are the ones who are supposed to be concerned with what's happening in terms of the public policy around the issue of vaccination of livestock. Now, let's come to this issue of vaccination of livestock. I have a problem because I'm sitting here, I am well learned, I'm much aware, I keep a few cattle here and there, but for the life of me, I can still not find any information from the government of Kenya about what exactly this vaccination program is about. I cannot find it on their website as a ministry, kilimo.go.ke. I cannot find it on their X page. Where are you expecting me, somebody who wants to understand what exactly is going to be injected into my cow, into my goat? Where are you expecting me to understand this information from? Secondly, it's the president who's talking about this. Where is the PS? Where is the CS? Why are they not having meetings day in, day out, just making sure the public understands what this vaccination exercise is about? You see, I said here, the issue is about trust. It's about building trust, it's about keeping that trust, it's about maintaining that trust and advancing that trust. When you are carrying out public policy or government policy actions, and you do not take the time to make Kenyans understand what exactly you're attempting to do. You cannot tell me just because I saw 20 years ago cows being vaccinated with foot and mouth disease that a vaccination of a cow should be natural, normal and acceptable. That cannot happen. So let me tell you another thing. Kenyans have undergone a very traumatic experience called COVID-19. They were vaccinated by force. And a lot of Kenyans still walk around today imagining that the problems that they have now is because they took a vaccine that they were forced by the government. They will not then allow you to carry out a secondary vaccination that they do not understand. They do not understand what's the purpose of it. And then and you just go ahead and do it without explanation. It's very important to explain these things to Mwananchi for acceptability and adoptability.
Why is everyone that is not, into this or trying to point out the concerns that they have are termed as either stupid or foolish, you do not understand? What is the role of the government in trying to make people get to understand this? And I'm speaking of this because also there's when he was in Kilifi during the International Investment Conference, he actually referred to those alleging corruption in the National Equipment Service Program deal as foolish, whereby there were concerns that people had been forced to sign that particular deal. You have to be a fool to be forced to sign the wrong thing and then come and talk about it. So the rhetorics of watu kuwa wajinga and people being stupid, just because people are raising concerns about it.
Brian, I will speak this because I personally know the president, and I'm very surprised by the character that he's exhibiting right now. This is not a character that was expected of him for people who have known him for the years that he has been. And even by the virtue of sitting in that seat, as Nurdin has said here, as president of Kenya, he cannot utter some terminology. Now, the thing is, I think, and we need to really ask of our president, is it because people are calling you names on social media that now you decide that whenever you get a microphone, it is your turn to attack back? Are these platforms that are being given to His Excellency the President to address Kenyans on matters of national importance becoming pedestals to use to actually belittle, condemn, and even ostracize in the name of trying to put your point across? It's a worrying trend. And I think at some point we would need people and Kenyans of good gravitas and goodwill to actually stand up and just put caution on him. Because it's not acceptable. I mean, we cannot have young children who are on holiday watching TV randomly and seeing a president calling people either they are being possessed or they are stupid or they are foolish. These are not terminologies that we expect of a president of his caliber right now. And I think we need to call him out. I personally feel very offended as a citizen when he keeps on making such statements, and it's very belittling, and it's bad. There is no way, there is no place in this planet whereby this can be acceptable. And if it's the company he's keeping, then he needs to change. I think if it's the bishops who have run away from him, I think we can donate like 5 or 4 bishops to be hanging around with him, just for the purposes of making sure that he's more positive in his outlook and conversation and how he addresses Kenyans going forward. And maybe spending time with Uhuru might be better. I don't know. Maybe a few more old men.
The Holy Spirit seems to have left State House. Let me. Nudin, have we pushed the president to the edge that he has to be this defensive, especially and insulting at the same time to the citizens?
Well, you see, first and foremost, there is no reason as to why he should insult Kenyans. You know, the president once told us that he's the ambassador #1 of this country. You see, his addresses, everybody else watches. The president of Uganda can watch what Ruto is doing. Anyone can watch anywhere. So imagine you log into, say, let me see what the president of Kenya is saying to his people. And then you hear things like stupid. You know, how do you look as ambassador #1? And then how do you want our status to remain the way it is? You can't fight your own people. This is sad reality. A government that is at war with its people always fails. Why are you fighting your people? And you are saying maybe we've pushed him. So if we've pushed him, has he not pushed the Kenyans? And you see, when people ask you questions, you see, you don't work for yourself. That's delegated power. That power belongs to the people. So when they ask you, like he rightfully says, what is this vaccine? What is it comprised of? What benefit does my cow get? If something happens to my cow, where do I go? You know, until today, those farmers who got that fake fertilizer have never been compensated. How do you expect such people to now come whenever you're on a podium, you say, oh, by the way, kuna bei ya unga ilishuka, fertilizer ilishuka, and then they hear fertilizer. Someone remembers what they were sold for or sold to. You get? So it doesn't make sense when you're so angry. And it's baffling, but it comes with the fact that now he feels some, you know, after the handshake with Raila, which they claim to be not in government, you know, they actually brought in a script from the president. When he was in Uhuru's term, he was saying, I'm in the opposition, while in reality he wasn't in the cold, you know, quote unquote. But immediately they had a handshake with Raila. Some arrogance has kicked in, and that's why he speaks the way he speaks. And that is why you see cabinet secretaries from those experts who are brought in, they speak the way they speak right now. And it is so sad because at the end of the day, people ask questions because accountability is part and parcel of leadership. When you ask you a question about corruption, when people say there's corruption, and then you say, we're possessed. When people ask you about JKI and you say, I'm Japan and I'm JFK Airport, what is that? It's like, it reminds me of when we were young, those things called mchongwano. When you chongwana and a president, it doesn't make sense, you know. You have to be accountable to your people.
How do we tempt that? I know it might be, you know, hard, but how do we get from to have now a government very responsible to its citizenry, as opposed to what we are witnessing right now? Cabinet secretaries, the president himself, you know, coming out to engage the citizenry when it comes to war of words.
It's as simple as not electing politicians but leaders. These people are dealers, not even leaders. You see, if you're a leader, you know that once, you know, in English you say, once you say something, you can't take it back. Now, if the silhouettes are what is making him get angry, well, you're only putting more fire into that. The more you insult people, the more people get angry. Now, remember when he said something about JKI, some people went to JKI, some lot tumefika, they even took photos, they're like, look, now we can critique you. And you see, you can never win that war. The social media, you can never, and he forgets that he won his campaign, or rather his seat, cutters of social media. He had a very good team that was issuing issues on Dynasty versus Hustler, Wheelbarrow, all that. So if you understand the importance of that, and what happened to the president who was saying that when he comes into office, wale watu wa chini anakuja kusaidia. Those same watu wa chini are the ones who are going to an airport. Those same watu wa chini tunasema now they know nothing about livestock, so they can't advise you. You can't be all knowing, and that stems to the fact that maybe what Gachagua said about cabinet is true. That whenever they are there, they put their hands behind their back and they look down. And they never discuss anything. He knows everything. He says, this is what we are doing. And that is why he asks, where's the PS? Clearly clueless. Where's the CS? Clearly clueless. And you can't run a government as a one-man show. You see, this is not the Moi era, where we used to say Moi is everywhere. He's listening to everything. It doesn't work that way. Delegate some duties so that for better performance. You have now, you can, the first time the CS for health was asked about the SHA, then became Chief, and now Taifa, related that thing to Hustler Fund. And that's the whole CS. So if you can't answer questions as cabinet secretaries, what role do you have as a cabinet secretary? It means whenever you go for cabinet, there's no discussion. It means somebody else has advised the president, or he has advised himself. You know, there's a joke going around that he advises the advisor on how to advise him, which is very sad, if it is true. So you have a situation where if you're only given a policy to implement that you know nothing about, then you can't implement. So it has to give, now it makes him have to walk around the country talking about livestock. How does that look?
All right. Nudin mentioned something that during the campaign we had the Hustler versus Dynasty, but right now we are dining and whining and dining with the dynasties themselves. Away from that. Peter Moniki here says, saddening, Kiburi Mingi, instead of sensitizing people on policy issues, he's busy imposing them against people's will to an extent of abusing those of a contrary opinion. He should be informed that at no time did we surrender our brains and intelligence to him. We can reason and say no. Kinacholazimishwa kimeoza. Matthew Simeon says that's not the word to utter by a leader, especially in the highest office. Dennis says, not at a fee, we pay taxes. You come tax our animals. Imagine taking one animal for vaccination. We used to pay 200 for the person taking per cow, then pay 100 for vaccination thrice per year. There are some words that shouldn't be uttered by a leader. How do you call your citizens stupid, Mr. President? Gerald Gikonyo says, no, you're not taking that. People are not opposing. Let the government give reasons for the vaccination. This is Emmanuel Luther King. And Frederick Wendell says, anger to my own animals who want to work. Wesley Moisasi says, okay, I'm not reading that. Okay, Jayman says, kwani mifugo iko na shida gani ama ni deal ya pesa inataka kukulwa hapa? Right, those are just some of your, okay. Okay, Zablon Ongao says, Kamatuza may support the vaccination, but nobody has reported any viruses on animals, neither no alarm or prone disease reported. Labda unaleta timing dead vaccination into our small animals na uko na ngombe. Don't bother wale hawataki na wacha matusi to Kenyans. This is Zablon Ongao. Thank you so much for your feedback here. As we continue this particular conversation, we want to take a break. When we come back, we'll be taking a look at what is happening, of course, in the country and also on matters judiciary. All right, we take a break. We'll be back in a few. Continue engaging us on our socials at K24 TV across social media platforms. We'll be sampling your feedback as we continue with the program this morning.
Mapateme ya bolingo natie maboko na moto
Natini bolingo ta elali selio miso ekoki olelisa kaka miswango lisusu naleli bababara
na yemba na lomba makiari Franco ayemisaka nga makambo ezali minene Kaka makambo lokole gomelio supporter ozuwa kibangajement lokole gomelio assumer molambi ya fufu atala kama ina fufu ya poussière kizima yo salinteba
Step into a world of emotions. Relationships.
Kumbe mama, ulikuwa unafikiria kuolewa tena? Yaani unijaleta kidogo, wewe ni mbaya.
Dilemmas and complexities of life.
Mwanamke hamhitaji mwanaume ili aweze kuwa na furaha.
Love.
Vedika, kiukweli mimi nakupenda sana wewe.
Betrayal.
Mimi nilikupa kila kitu ambacho wewe ulikuwa unakihitaji. Lakini leo umeamua kunidanganya na kuusaliti uaminifu wangu.
And secrets.
Tafadhali usimwambie Sahil kuhusu hili.
Get ready for an emotional roller coaster ride filled with drama.
Sahil wangu yuko wapi? Nataka uniambie Sahil yuko wapi? Sijafanya chochote kile Sahil jamani.
Passion. And unforgettable moments. Don't miss Aapke Ajanase every Tuesdays to Fridays on your favorite TV station, K24.